Hey YouTube, today I'm going to show you the bike rack I made for my camper van. As I've said before, I wanted to put 4 bikes inside the van for weather and theft protection. So like almost everything I've done so far in this van, it's taken me at least 2 tries to come up with a good solution, and this was no exception. Everyone told me the only way to put your bikes under your bed was to take off the front wheel and drop the seat. Unfortunately, one of my bikes, the Giant XTC, has a ridiculous seat post where the bolt is located under here and you can't put a quick release on the seat post. So dropping that seat is a real pain in the ass. So I built the bed to be 41 inches high in order to accommodate a 40-inch height seat that is on one of my bikes. Then I went out and bought some fork mounts for my bikes. 2 of them are the old style quick release and 2 are for through axles. I screwed them onto a piece of plywood, staggered the handlebars such that they didn't hit, and also so that I could remove any individual bike without having to remove any other bike. This all works, but there are several disadvantages. Number 1 is putting the bikes in the van is quite tedious because you have to remove the wheels from each bike and tighten each bike down to the board, which takes about 2 minutes per bike. The second disadvantage is the rack takes up the entire width of the van. The third disadvantage is when you get all the bikes in there, you still have a bunch of loose wheels you have to do something with, and so you put them in there and you gotta like pad them out so they don't scratch the other bikes and stuff like that. So not great. And the last, fourth disadvantage is the quick release things they kind of suck. They're too low to use and you have to hand tighten everything. It's kind of hard to hand tighten everything. So as I was putting the bikes in, I noticed that if I turned my handlebars, the inside bar drops lower than the bed and the outside rises above it. So since the bed can be slid around on the rails I actually could put the bike in standing upright with the wheels on without any trouble whatsoever, as long as I slid the bed forward along the rails. I previously had built a bike rack for storing bikes in my basement, and I have a video on that which you can watch. I'll put a link in the description. And when I realized that I could probably use this rack with only a slight modification, I tried it out inside the van, and what I found was I had to replace the original 2x4 at the very front of the rack with a shorter piece of wood so that the rear wheel wouldn't have to hop up over a full 2x4 but has to hop up over a smaller, maybe 1-inch high piece of wood. And I loaded the bikes in with the bars turned and it worked perfectly. And the advantages to this are, number 1, putting the bikes in is now quite easy. You just roll the bike in, takes maybe 5 seconds at the most. The only problem is I have one full suspension bike where I have to drop the seat post, but I have a dropper post on it, which is no big deal. Number 2 advantage to this is it takes up less than the entire width of the van, whereas the other rack took up the entire width, so that's nice. The third advantage is you don't have a bunch of loose wheels you have to do something with once you get the bikes in. Then the final fourth advantage is when I have the bed removed and I'm just traveling around and using this as my everyday kind of vehicle, I can just leave that bike rack in for transporting the bikes like I always have anyway. So that was my final solution on how I am putting the bikes in my camper van. Thanks for watching.